Yo, what's going on, everybody? A couple days after Christmas. Hopefully you had a good Christmas. And going into New Year's, ready for a big year. I'm trying to make 2018 be a solid year. I got some decent goals as far as selling. I want to really bring the reseller business. I want to get that as close to a six-figure business. Or obviously I want to get it to six figures, but I want to get there as fast as I possibly can. And then with the trading, I want to just continue to do that. And as far as people who've been watching, the transition over to options, I'm very happy with. I actually feel like I'm kind of starting to go down a path that is really good, and I can avoid like those huge losses that have been pretty tough up to this point. So I just started trading today. I got my as far as coming back after the holidays, I traded today. Wanted to do a trading recap, but I just wanted to do a video that was a little different. I ended up trading Tesla. I took some puts on Tesla and made a little bit of money on that, which was great. Slowed down a lot, so I left and I started working on eBay. I think that going into the new year, it'll be a little bit slower, and then hopefully it starts picking up come next year. But yeah, so kind of something that I wanted to talk about, just because I want to do like more random content, just like not necessarily just trading, even just like life and general information, and kind of the process that I've gone through up to this point of trying to go down the road of successfully being self-employed, and kind of the ups and downs that come with that, especially if you're trying it for the very first time. And that's what I'm doing. So the one thing that I have kind of noticed, and that just kind of came into my mind today, and I thought about talking about it, was kind of mentors. Right? And I think everyone kind of has this belief on like what a mentor is, and I kind of had a belief like a mentor is somebody that has to be like, they got to live down the street, you got to be able to have coffee with them. And I think even though that's great, maybe not necessarily everybody has that. I know I don't. I mean, especially so when I quit my job to try to start working for myself, I went like crazy. I went off the deep end. Like a lot of my friends probably think I'm nuts. I literally basically was like, all right, I'm moving and I'm trying this stuff. And I literally sold all of my things. I quit my job and I moved like that. So I was like gone. I disappeared out of nowhere. And a lot of people probably were like, okay, that was a little weird. So as far as like mentors, my whole world was in South Florida, right? That's where all my friends were. That's where any sort of connections I had were. And I ended up moving to just outside Salt Lake City, Utah, because that's where my family is now, to be able to live with family, keep my expenses as low and as close to zero as possible while I give these things a shot, so I don't feel that unnecessary pressure of money while giving what is already tough a chance. Because I know that if I felt that, I was going to probably fail very fast. So I ended up doing that. So I came to a place where I knew next to nobody. And as far as like people here, I just haven't really like found any, quote unquote mentors or people that are kind of doing the same stuff as me. So that's when, kind of pretty early on in the journey of trading, I went online. And funny enough, I started connecting with individuals through Instagram. And then I just started kind of going down that rabbit hole of finding people online who are pretty cool and pretty motivational. None of the cheesy pay me for a course type of stuff, just individuals who are, putting out a really positive, good message, who are entrepreneurs and, who are super successful. And I happen to find a handful of people online. So it sounds a little nuts, but my mentors, as of right now, are all online. Individuals and kind of personalities who I follow online and have provided an incredible amount of value to me. It's people who I can relate to, because a lot of times when you're going down the journey of trying to be self-employed and do some things that 99% of people just kind of don't understand. I feel like 99% of people are kind of stuck in the matrix of just like, go get a job, go do this, and buy a house, and I got to get a nice car, and like, you kind of just, they're in that matrix of the things that kind of drive a lot of people nuts, right, or don't make them happy. So they don't really understand when somebody kind of breaks free of that, and I broke free of that. So, connecting with these people online has really been very beneficial to me, because not really having an outlet to talk to people who you relate with can, I feel like, be like really tough at times, because you feel like you're doing this. You're doing it alone, especially on the days that suck, right? Like the days that, because when you're trying to do your own thing, the ups and downs are nuts. It's literally a roller coaster every single day. And if you don't have kind of individuals to relate to or even talk to a little bit, I feel like it can be like super lonely, and you're in your head, and then it gets even more tough. So for me, there's been a handful of people that I'm a big fan of, and I just kind of wanted to go over it for the heck of it. I'm sure plenty of people probably already know them, and if not, then you can do your own research and follow them, and if you like them, cool. If not, that's okay. But the number one for me is Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm sure plenty of people know who he is, but he was actually the main reason why I quit my job. I remember I got his book, and it said something about, like, if you have this burning desire of wanting to do something on your own, like to the point where you feel like while you're at work and you're at your job, you feel like you are stuck and you are so uncomfortable just being there, and it's like the last thing you want to do and you're absolutely miserable, then you might as well go try something, because worst case scenario, you can always just go back to that, but you don't necessarily always get the chance to try something, especially while you're young, right? Like I was young. I am young. I'm 28 now, but it was towards the tail end of 26 when I decided to give these things a shot, and I had no responsibilities. I'm not married. I had no kids. I didn't have animals. So it was like, how many times am I going to be in this kind of spot? So I got to go for it. I have to take a risk. There's no reason not to. I know that when I'm 80 and I look back on this time, I'm going to be pissed if I didn't take a risk. And if I take a risk and it ends up working out, then holy crap, I won, right? I got out of the matrix, and I'm no longer sitting at a cubicle, and I'm doing things I like, and ultimately just super happy. So Gary Vaynerchuk, huge fan. Just Google him. He's got a ton of content. He's got a daily vlog, podcasts, a lot of things going on. The guy pumps out so much content, and all of it's amazing. I'm a big fan of him. And the second person is Andy Frisella. And I'll make sure at the end to put like a little bullet points of these guys, just so if anybody's interested, they can look up. But Andy Frisella, he's the CEO of First Form Nutrition, a supplement company. And he also has a podcast called the MF CEO. And he's really cool. He's he's an awesome guy, and he's very straightforward with the message, and I'm a big fan of that. There's no like BSing around the bush. Like he tells it how it is and how he feels, and whether or not you like it or not, whatever. But his podcast, MFCEO, it's a great podcast, and he's a super successful guy, and he has a very cool message, and a lot of the information that he talks about is very relevant. He talks about like even the things that a lot of people don't talk about, which is like going through some of the dark shit when you're trying to do your own thing, and like how it can be really, really tough. And I get why 99% of people quit, because I've been there, and I just was trying to look farther on. I was like, all right, well, the last week has sucked, the last month has sucked, but let's try to fast forward 5 years. And trying to constantly put a longer time frame on things to be able to kind of hang in there and not quit. But I get why a lot of people will quit, because it is not easy. But Andy Frisella, he's awesome. He puts out a lot of good content. He's a real cool dude. And then the third guy, which is somebody who I kind of came across recently, but he's really cool, is Tom Bilyeu. And he's the founder of Quest Nutrition, those Quest protein bars. And he's a really, really, really cool guy, and he puts out a lot of good content, but probably the best thing that he has is that show on YouTube. It's called Impact Theory, and he is basically interviewing a very like successful entrepreneurs and other people who have done it. And the one really cool thing about that is I'm a big fan of like people who are interviewing other entrepreneurs, because you get to feel... you get a little scoop and a little story of like what the hell they went through, they went through tough times as well, right? And like, it's hard to even imagine it, because you see somebody at the end, right? And you see somebody who's done so much and has achieved so much success that it almost seems like they didn't, like there was no way on earth that they ever struggled. And it's really cool to hear the stories of other individuals and kind of hear about their struggle and hear about how they got through maybe some dark times or some tough issues, that went on in their life. But Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory on YouTube, it's amazing. He's interviewed a lot of very high-profile people, and it's amazing. So I would say those are really the three main like entrepreneurs that I would almost consider mentors of mine, even though I've never met them, I've never spoke to them directly. In an online world with social media in everybody's hand, this is just sometimes how, I feel like that's kind of some people have people they look up to as far as like entertainers and whatnot. This has been kind of my mentors, just because I know the people directly around me, there's not necessarily can't relate as much. So those have been individuals who I've listened to and listened to their message, and it's been awesome. And then just a couple other podcasts that they're out there that I listen to all the time, and it's really cool. How I Built This with Guy Raz. Once again, it's a really cool podcast. It's the Guy Raz interviews other very successful entrepreneurs, and there's been, I mean, from like the founder of Southwest Airlines to the founder of Tom's. He has some huge hitters as far as really successful entrepreneurs on his show. And I've listened to every single one of them, and it's a really, really, really good podcast. So recommend to just kind of check that out. I know it's helped me, and just to hear other people's message. And once again, going back to hearing a message, more on that show is just, you hear a lot of the struggles that people went through. Like even Ben, the founder of Ben and Jerry's, the founders, like you hear a lot about the shit that they went through, and that it was not easy, and that they persevered and they dealt with it, and then they came through the other side. So there's a lot of really cool stories that hits home on that topic directly, on that How I Built This. And then another one is the name of the channel is Powerful JRE. It's the Joe Rogan Experience. So if you just search Joe Rogan in YouTube, you'll see the Joe Rogan Experience. His podcast is cool. Not necessarily so much about being entrepreneurial and entrepreneur and success. It's more just talking about life, which is like crazy cool. I know I'm a thinker. I think a lot. I'm in my head a lot, but like I can go real deep into things a lot more than most people. I feel like most people are kind of just even keel and like never really think too much about shit. I like to think about stuff a lot. I mean, crazy stuff, not just things that are all business. And the Joe Rogan Experience, his YouTube show is really, really cool because he goes into like all sorts of crazy stuff with all sorts of interesting people, and it just kind of gets your mind thinking, expands the brain, right? You just start thinking about stuff. And sometimes you don't have that, once again, readily available. So being able to just go to youtube.com and, check out these shows is great. So I know the video is a little different than I normally put out. I want to just kind of start putting out just all sorts of content. And if there's something on my mind, I'll throw a little video together. And if anybody, looks up any of these individuals, which I'll make sure to tag on a post in the end, and gets any sort of value out of any one of them, then fantastic, because I know that they've helped me a lot, and hopefully maybe they can help some others. So that is pretty much it. I'll probably do a trading recap later on in the week. I know it's gonna be pretty slow going into the new year, but hopefully that first week of January things will start to get back to normal, and we will be off and running. And hopefully for my best year yet, I hope for everyone else that it's their best year as well. So that is it, and I will talk to you guys next time.